Good morning and welcome to today's administrative meeting of the Public Service Commission. We have 21 items on the docket this morning. Before we get going, we have minutes from the last meeting on May 22nd. Is there a motion?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I move we adopt the minutes from the May 22nd administrative meeting.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
The minutes are approved. Madam Secretary, the consent agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On the consent agenda, there are 10 items. The first, let's see. The first 5 items are tariff revisions to adjust the monthly EUSP rate changes in their tariff filings. The first tariff filing was by Williamsport Municipal Light Plant on May 21st, 2019, to revise its tariff pages for the EUSP tariff charges. Second item is Choptank Electric Cooperative, Inc., filed on May 3rd, 2019, to revise its tariff pages. On item 3 is Thermont Municipal Light Company, filed on May 21st, 2019, to revise its tariff pages. Item 4 is Baltimore Gas and Electric Company, filed on May 7th, 2019, to revise its tariff pages. And item 5 is Hagerstown Light Department, filed on April 29, 2019, to revise its tariff pages. Item 6 is Delmarva Power and Light Company, filed on April 24, 2019, to update its standard offer service rates for Type 2 customers. Item 7 is a filing by Potomac Electric Power Company on April 24, 2019, to update its SOS standard offer service rates for Type 2 customers. Item 8 is the Potomac Edison Company, filed on April 25th, 2019, revised tariff pages to update its electric supply rates for Type 1 and 2 SOS. Item 9 is Baltimore Gas and Electric Company, filed on May 1, 2019, revised tariff pages, proposing to revise Rider 1 of the SOS and Schedule PL tariffs. It withdrew one of its amended filings. On item 10 is Quiventa, Inc., filed on April 29, 2019, request to cancel electricity and gas supplier licenses.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. For these consent agenda items, is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I had one question.
Yes, please.
With respect to item number 9, morning, Mr. Baker.
Good morning, Benjamin Baker on behalf of staff.
Thank you. I'm just, was it item number, sorry, item number 10. I apologize. I made all the wrong people stand up.
Good morning, Chairman, Commissioners. Michael Jang on behalf of staff.
Good morning. Do we have a representative from Quiventa Energy Services here?
It just said that there were outstanding assessments. So are they still outstanding or?
Yes, so the company owes $400 in total assessments. These are citations for they did not they didn't file their gross operating revenues for 2017 and 2018.
Mm-hmm.
The company itself was insolvent since 2017 and have been trying to cancel their or just close their business because they owed a tax debt to the state, and this was actually completed in February this year. So
Okay.
that's what it is.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Yep.
Do commissioners have any questions on any of the other consent items?
No question, Mr. Chairman, but I did want to note that I would recuse myself, from item number 10.
Thank you, Commissioner Linton. Perhaps we'll take the vote on item 10 separately. Is there a motion?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. With respect to item number 1, I move we accept the tariff revisions for filing with an effective date of June 1st, 2019. Item number 2, accept the tariff revisions for filing effective with the billing month of June 2019. Item number 3, accept the tariff revisions for filing with an effective date of June 1st, 2019. Item number 4, accept the tariff revisions for filing effective with the billing month of June 2019. Item number 5, accept the tariff revisions for filing with an effective date of June 1st, 2019. With respect to items number 6, 7, 8, and 9, or 6, 7, and 8, I move that we accept the tariff revisions for filing with an effective date of June 1st, 2019. And with respect to item number 9, I move we accept the tariff revisions for filing for BGE's residential Type 1, Type 2 SOS rates and its SOS administrative charge.
Thank
I'll
you.
do 10 separately.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
The motions for item 1 through 9 pass. Consent agenda, item number 10.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I move we cancel the company's licenses to operate as an electricity and natural gas supplier in Maryland.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any recused?
Aye.
Commissioner Linton is recused. Thank you. Madam Secretary, the administrative agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to call items 11 and 12 together. Item 11 is the Potomac Edison Company filed on May 1, 2019, revised tariff pages proposing to reduce the universal service program rate. And item 12 is the Easton Utilities Commission filed on May 9, 2019, its USP Electric Universal Service Program Recovery Rider.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. David Hoppeck on behalf of staff. By order number 89105, issued April 24, 2019, the Commission adopted staff's proposal that current Electric Universal Service Program, or EUSP, surcharges be reduced for both residential and non-residential customers, and directed that Maryland Electric Utilities file revised tariffs reflecting a reduced EUSP surcharge rate of 32 cents for residential customers and a reduction of 30.64% for each of the 24 non-residential EUSP surcharge tiers. The Potomac Edison Company and Easton Utilities Commissions have filed revised EUSP surcharges in compliance with order number 89105. Staff notes that some of the non-residential surcharges Potomac Edison and Easton have submitted to the Commission are different than the non-residential surcharges staff presented to the Commission in its March 20th, 2019 filing. This is due to staff calculating non-residential EUSP surcharges based on a 30.636% reduction that was rounded up to 30.64 in staff's written comments and adopted in order 89105. Both Potomac Edison and Easton have filed non-residential EUSP surcharges based on a 30.64% reduction rather than staff's calculated values. The difference in surcharges is minor, and staff believes that Potomac Edison and Easton have complied with the Commission's order. Staff recommends that the Commission accept the revised tariff pages of the Potomac Edison Company and the Easton Utilities Commission with an effective date of June 1st, 2019. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hoppeck. I have no questions on either of these items, although I'd like to say that I had the opportunity to visit the Easton Utilities last week, and I'm ashamed to say, after living in Maryland for about 20 years, that was my first visit to Easton. The utility operations was quite impressive out in Talbot County in the Eastern Shore. They operate everything from cable TV to wastewater to electric and gas. So for a small utility of only about 150 personnel, they do accomplish a lot. So I thank them for their hospitality and invitation to tour their facilities. I don't have any questions. Do commissioners have questions? Seeing none, is there a motion?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, for items number 11 and 12, I move we accept the tariff revisions for filing with an effective date of June 1st, 2019.
All in favor?
Aye.
The motions are approved.
Item 13 is Mayor and Council of Berlin filed on May 10, 2019, revised tariff pages adjusting monthly electric universal service program surcharges.
Good morning again, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. David Hoppeck, again on behalf of staff. The Mayor and Town Council of Berlin have filed revised Electric Universal Service Program surcharges in compliance with order number 89105. Berlin has requested an effective date of May 1st, 2019 for this filing because it began billing customers on May 1st, 2019 at the reduced EUSP surcharges approved by the Commission in Order 89105. Staff recommends that the Commission accept the revised tariff for filing with an effective date of May 1st, 2019. 2019.
Thank you. Seeing no questions, is there a motion?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, for item number 13, I move we accept the tariff revisions for filing with an effective date of May 1st, 2019.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye. The motion is approved.
Items 14 and 15 can be called together. Item 14 is Baltimore Gas and Electric Company, filed on April 30, 2019, supplement number 627 to POC MD E-6. The company proposes to revise Schedule 3 of its electricity supplier coordination tariff to update the discount rates for the purchase of supplier receivables. Item 15 is Baltimore Gas and Electric Company, filed on April 30, 2019, supplement number 456 to POC MDG-9. The company proposes to revise Schedule 1 of its gas supplier tariff to update the discount rates for the purchase of supplier receivables.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Annette Garofalo on behalf of Commission staff. By letter orders dated October 7th, 2009 and June 25th, 2010, as supplemented by letter orders dated July 13th, 2011, the Commission authorized the inclusion in the gas and electricity POR rates for the Baltimore Gas and Electric Company a program development cost component, an uncollectible component to be offset by late fees from retail customers after the first year, an operations cost component which was set at zero, a risk component which was also set at zero, and working capital is also included. The company was subsequently directed to replace each negative discount rate proposed with a discount rate of zero, and to reflect that any amount over or under collected by the company shall earn interest at the same rate as is paid on customer deposits and not at the company's authorized rate of return. To account for this adjustment, BGE's tariff includes a reconciliation component to recover any imbalance between the cumulative costs eligible for recovery and discount amounts for the prior year, with interest on both over and under recoveries set at the interest for customer deposits. By letter order dated July 25th, 2017, the Commission noted that if the company so choose, it could include RM54 programming costs in a future rate case, thereby allowing the recovery of those costs to be spread among all benefiting ratepayers. Since that date, no electric base rate case has been filed. However, in case number 9484, BGE's gas base rate case, the Commission gave express approval for recovery of costs of accelerated switching to be recovered using the supplier liability fund where available and allocated through the POR discount rate for gas customers. No similar adjustment has been made for electric customers. Staff has reviewed BGE's filing and believes the rates as filed comport with the company's tariff, and with regard to the RM54 costs included in gas POR rates also comport with the Commission's order number 88975 as it relates to that matter. All gas and electric rates are negative and have been appropriately set to zero. Staff recommends that BGE's proposed POR rates be accepted for filing effective June 1, 2019.
Thank you, Ms. Garofalo. Would the representative for Baltimore Gas and Electric like to make an appearance?
Good morning, Commissioners. Christy Ravenel on behalf of Baltimore Gas and Electric. We're available for any questions you might have.
Thank you. For either of you, I just have a quick question. Taking a look at the red line tariff sheet, the discount rate is set to zero both currently and prospectively. So the revised tariff sheet makes no change with the exception of the effective date in the footer. That being said, do we actually need a revised tariff sheet?
I guess you could get along without it, although I think it is clearer to have the revised tariff sheet, even though it only includes the date, just so that when someone goes to look at it in the future, they realize they can be certain it's the most current.
Right. Fair enough. Thank you. Other questions? Is there a motion?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, with respect to items number 14 and 15, I move we accept the tariff revisions for filing with an effective date of June 1st, 2019.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
The motions are approved.
Item 16 is the Potomac Edison Company, filed on May 2nd, 2019, revised tariff pages. The company proposes to revise tariff pages with updates to discount rates for the purchase of receivables.
Good morning again. David Hoppick again on behalf of Commission staff. By letter order, October 5th, 2009, the Commission gave the Potomac Edison Company broad guidance for establishing purchase of receivables discount rates. Potomac Edison has filed revised POR rates effective June 1st, 2019. Excuse me. The proposed residential POR rate is approximately 0.21%, decreasing from the current approximately 0.46%. The proposed commercial classes POR rates remain unchanged at 0%. Additionally, Potomac Edison is proposing to simplify the calculation of POR rates by consolidating the small programming reconciliation balance with the primary reconciliation balance. This consolidation has no impact on POR rates and allows full recovery of all programming costs to date. Additionally, in responding to a question from staff, Potomac Edison found an error in its prior filing. This had the effect of increasing the residential POR rate in its last filing by approximately 0.1%, and staff estimates that this error reduces the proposed residential POR rate approximately 0.1% in the instant filing. This error should self-correct over time. Staff recommends that Potomac Edison's revised POR rates be accepted for filing effective June 1st, 2019. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hoppick. Seeing no questions from the bench, is there a motion?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, for item number 16, I move we accept the tariff revisions for filing with an effective date of June 1st, 2019.
All in favor?
Aye.
The motion is approved.
Item 17 is Columbia Gas of Maryland, Inc., filed on April 23, 2019. Its WarmWise Low Income Usage Reduction Program and Energy Efficiency Rider 2019-2020 Program Proposal Year and 2012 to 2019 Program Report.
Thank you. Is counsel for Columbia Gas present? Seeing no counsel present. Ms. Gruffalo.
Thank you, Your Honor. Columbia Gas of Maryland, Inc. is proposing to renew its WarmWise Low Income Usage Reduction Program for 1 year. Columbia first began operating this program in 1995. The program provides weatherization assistance to MEP households that consume 437 CCF or more during the winter months, which is the end of October through the beginning of April. For the coming year, Columbia proposes to weatherize 17 homes within the company's service territory. The work will be done using qualified weatherization subcontractors. Columbia estimates a cost of $92,100 with an estimated savings of 437 therms as a result of this program. Columbia proposes a 1-year program in order to continue to evaluate the effectiveness of the program's design. Costs associated with the program, including administration, will be collected through Columbia's Energy Efficiency Rider. Columbia proposes an energy efficiency rider in the amount of .000231 per CCF. Staff has reviewed the filing and recommends the program be approved and the energy efficiency rider accepted for filing effective May 31, 2019.
Thank you. Seeing no questions.
Actually,
Commissioner Richard.
Yeah, I'm just interested in a couple of the items here in the buck sheet. One, it talks about a $200 per completion administrative fee, and then it looks like the various measures can range from low numbers to up to a soft cap of $6,000. Does that $200 go to small and large projects alike, or how does that work?
Good morning, Chairman and Commissioners. Paige Shaw on behalf of staff. I don't know. Actually, I can ask the company if you'd like.
Ms. Shaw, do you know why the company is not present today?
No, I do not.
Okay, I wonder if that would be unintended incentivizing, just moving through a lot of just projects without really ensuring that they're getting the best projects, or making sure that they're complete projects. Also, there's an interest expense. Do you know what that is calculated on, the $1,115? And I ask because it looks like there's actually a balance, over collection balance. So I was just interested to know what are we calculating this interest expense on? Oh, I'm sorry, that's the same
I'm
page
not
4.
sure.
Okay. Sorry, I didn't mean to stump you. I just was interested in those two items. We can talk offline.
Okay, yeah, I can ask the company about it.
Ms. Shaw, I'm going to ask you one more question. You may not be able to answer it, but taking a look, it was the 17 homes, approximately $92,000 in expense. So it's about $5,000 or $6,000 a piece. How did the utility identify these 17 candidate homes to complete the weatherization?
I do not know the answer to that one. You know?
Morning, Mr. Hurley.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. I believe the company reaches out to their low-income customers who receive assistance, and they market those customers with this ability to have this weatherization services offered. And they usually get back between 25 to 75 applications, and they kind of look through the minimum requirements for the gas usage during the winter seasons to determine which customers they'll offer the services to.
Thank you for that response. Commissioner Richard, are you prepared to vote on this without answers to your questions?
I think I am, yeah.
Okay.
I know otherwise it's a pretty good program, so we've approved this in the past.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Shaw, if you could carry back those two commissioners' questions from Commissioner Richard and let the company know and let them know that their lack of presence was noted. Is there a motion?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. For item number 17, I move we approve the company's proposed WarmWise low-income usage reduction program and accept for filing the company's proposed energy efficiency rider with an effective date of May 31st, 2019.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
The motion is approved.
Item 18 is Forefront Power LLC, filed on April 18, 2019. Request for additional waiver and extension of the operational deadline.
Good morning, Chairman and Commissioners. Peter Wolson for staff. Forefront Power and its subsidiary FF Maryland Solar Holdings LLC seek a second waiver of the operation deadlines established under COMAR 20.62.03.04 for 4 projects in the Community Solar Pilot Program. Forefront states that each of the 4 projects has continued to encounter delays in the permitting process. 2 of the projects, Osborne Road and Croon Road, are located in the PEPCO service territory. 1, Philadelphia Road, is located in the BGE service territory, and the last one, Snow Hill, is located in the Delmarva service territory. Applicant requests short extensions for the Philadelphia Road project until July 31, 2019, that's 1 month. For the Osborne Road and Croon Road projects until September 1, 2019, that's 2 months. And for the Snow Hill project until September 30th, 2019, that is also 2 months. COMAR 20.62.01.04 allows the Commission to waive the pilot project regulations for good cause shown. As good cause, Forefront states that it has diligently pursued county zoning approval and permitting for the 4 projects as detailed in its filing ML 225199. Zoning approval has been received for all 4 projects. Philadelphia Road is now under construction. The other 3 projects still face permitting delays at the time these comments were written, which Forefront maintains will be resolved shortly. Panels and other materials have been purchased for the projects. Forefront states that these projects represent a combined capital investment of approximately $12.7 million. Forefront further avers that the Osborne Road, Croon Road, and Philadelphia Road projects are fully customer subscribed with additional customers waitlisted. The Snow Hill project has a significant subscriber enrollment and is expected to be fully subscribed before the requested operational date in September. Staff is skeptical that all of these projects can be completed within the extensions requested here. However, staff concurs with applicants that good cause to grant the requested waivers has been demonstrated after consideration of their diligent efforts to complete these projects and the other reasons set forth in staff's comments. The company is here to provide an update
to the status of these projects. Accordingly, staff recommends that the Commission grant Forefront time-limited waivers of current operation deadlines and extend them to those requested for each project. Osborne Road and Croom Road until September 1, 2019, Philadelphia Road until July 31, 2019, and Snow Hill until September 30th, 2019.
Thank you, Mr. Wilson. Counsel for Forefront.
Hey, good morning, Chairman, Commissioners. Eric Wallace with Green Herlocker here for Forefront Power. And I'm joined with Brian Malachewski from the company, who's a project manager who's been overseeing the development of these community solar projects here in Maryland and can help answer any questions that you have. This is our second round of extension requests for these projects, but they are in the construction phase now. The furthest ahead is Philadelphia Road, and that one we've requested a shorter extension for because that one continues to be on schedule to be completed within the operational deadline of the end of July that we've requested. The two projects at the top of the list are in Prince George's County. That's Osborne Road and Croom Road, and I understand staff's skepticism about our timeline, but we felt it was incumbent upon us to take whatever steps we could to limit the additional time that we're coming in and asking for here. And so we've been able to begin the construction process with some of the grading work, including some of the fine grading now with the Osborne Road project, and we're on track to have the fine grading and building permits within the next couple of weeks. And as these projects have been delayed, the permitting delays early on in this year, the company has gone out and secured additional resources, consultants, attorneys to help shepherd these projects through the local permitting processes. And so, we've been checking in daily with those folks to see how things are coming along and making sure we're doing whatever we can to move these forward. And as of this morning, we did sort of a final update to see where things are, and we're confident that each of the extension requests and the construction schedules continue to be on track with the timing that we requested in our extension request here late last month and as updated on May 9th.
Thank you, Mr. Wallace. Mr. Wilson, Bucksheet footnote number 4 stated that you contacted PHI for verification. Have we received any verification from them?
We have not, Your Honor, but they were busy last week in a rate case here, and
Right.
I expect that's why we didn't hear back from them.
Mr. Wilson, what was your original recommendation when Forefront came in for the initial extension of time?
Well, I didn't handle it, but for the additional, yes. I contacted Forefront and asked them for a lot more information, and they were very responsive. And that convinced me that it should be granted. Without that additional information, my initial response was to request it not be granted.
Mr. Wallace, can you assure us that this is the last request for an extension of time for these projects?
We've talked about that this is the last time we'll be here for these projects, and so that's one of the key things that we've been communicating with all of the folks on the Forefront team, that we're down to the wire here, and these projects they're underway, and I think one of the reasons that we're able to have more certainty at this stage on the timeline is at this point the company has a lot more control over the construction schedule and is able to work with its contractor to manage those things. Whereas in the zoning and the permitting phases, generally there was a lot of back and forth with the local folks, and it just took longer than the company expected, and despite our best efforts to shepherd through the process as quickly as possible.
Thank you. Additional questions, Commissioner Linton?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So the Commission staff is supportive of the extension request, but they've expressed some skepticism. Could you give us some understanding as to what the nature of the permitting delay is? I mean, did they mail it to you and it sent the wrong address? I mean, what's the delay? What's causing the delay?
Sure. So in our May 9th filing, we kind of walked through and provided a narrative for each of the projects, kind of the different communications that have taken place, and that's sort of a subset of the communications. There's going through the permitting process. There are, there's a back and forth with different county agencies, from the Soil Conservation District to the Department of Permitting, and there are teams of engineers on both sides so we'll submit plans, they'll submit comments or make changes. Sometimes they'll ask that things be moved, and when that happens, we need to go back and redraw the plans and resubmit them. And so that process it's sort of an iterative process. And in certain instances, we would go through the Soil Conservation District phase, then be talking with the permitting authorities, and have to go back and make changes back and forth. So it's sort of a comment and redrafting and updating phase until everyone is on board with the sort of final plans, and we're able to get the permits approved and stamped and begin construction. And we've sort of finalized that process with the Philadelphia Road project, which already has the construction is well underway. The panels are installed. They're working on the electrical work now to finalize that. And then the other projects we've started, the earthwork, and I believe the rough grade work has been done, and they're working on now moving into the fine grade work, and then to install the access roads and begin the trenching and other changes that need to be made, and then they'll install the racking and the piling, and then install the panels and run the electrical work, and then that'll move into mechanical completion along the schedule that we've presented here.
So it sounds like the back and forth redrafting and discussion process at Philadelphia Road appears to be finished, but there's I guess you're finalizing some paperwork or something in order to resolve that one. But for the other ones, that back and forth discussion is still happening.
In different levels. So basically, we have, based on the discussions that we've had, the fine grade permit. We have the fine grade permit for the Osborne Road project. Based on our discussions with the permitting authorities, we expect to have the fine grade permit for the Croom Road project within the next week, and then sort of following right after that will be the building permits. And so we're sort of simultaneously having discussions with different folks at the county that are responsible for issuing these permits. So we're able to move them along together. And those two projects are both Prince George's County. And so it's a lot of the same folks that we're working with, and they're sort of similar projects, and so they're moving along together. But so progress is being made, and based on the communications and discussions with them to let them know that we need to come before you, and we're under we have a timeline that we need to meet, and this is the final schedule that we've presented. So we're expecting that'll continue to move along, and within the first week in June we'll have building permits in hand for both of these projects. But that doesn't stop us from beginning work, because we can already do the fine grade, the rough grade work for both projects and the fine grade work for one project. We'll bring in the fine grade work on the second project within the next week, and then we can move into installing the piling and racking once the building permits are issued.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. For item number 18, I move we grant Forefront Power LLC and its subsidiary, FFP Maryland Solar Holdings LLC, time-limited waivers of COMAR 20.62.03.04C2, extending the applicant's operations deadline to those requested for each project.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
The motion is approved.
Thank you.
I believe we can call items 19 and 20 together. 19 is Elkton Housing Authority, filed on May 1, 2019. Application to qualify as a low-income subscriber for the purposes of the Community Solar Pilot Program. And item 20 is Ingerman, filed on May 1, 2019. Application to qualify as a low-income subscriber for the purposes of the Community Solar Pilot Program.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners, Annette Garofalo, again on behalf of Commission staff. The Elkton Housing Authority seeks to qualify 2 of its facilities as low-income subscribers for purposes of the Community Solar Program. Both facilities are public housing administered by the United States Federal Housing and Urban Development Authority. Under Comar 20620303D2, an operator of a low-income multifamily dwelling may apply to the Commission to qualify as a low-income subscriber for the purposes of the pilot program. With regard to Ingerman, it's a similar application. Ingerman seeks to qualify 2 properties as low-income subscribers. These properties are designated as affordable housing complexes under 26 U.S.C. Section 42. Although there are several ways of qualifying under Section 42 of the IRS Code, Ingerman has informed staff that 100% of their tenants are at or below 60% of the AMI threshold. We haven't had one of these before you, but when determining eligibility of a facility as a low-income subscriber, it's necessary to examine the qualification for residents. Under Comar 20620102B, low income means a subscriber whose gross annual household income is at or below 175% of the federal poverty level for the year of subscription, or who is certified as eligible for any federal, state, or local assistance program that limits participation to households whose income is at or below 175% of the federal poverty limit. Moderate income means a subscriber whose gross annual household income is at or below 80% of the median income for Maryland for the year of subscription. HUD requirements, looking at the Elkton facilities, mandate that residents' gross family income for HUD Section 8 housing located in Elkton fall below 80% of Cecil County's area median income. HUD projects use a projected period for a county in a multi-state area. This is not necessarily comparable to an actual period in a single state, and it appears that the HUD projected median income level may be in excess of 80% of Maryland's median income, which was $80,776 in 2017, the most recent time for which those figures are available. The result is that households with incomes slightly over $64,000 qualify as moderate income for purposes of the pilot. This is and the reason for this is not only because income is projected, but also because it varies by household size, with the result that a household of 3 may earn almost $68,000. Looking at the Elkton housing project, the Section 8 project, a review of records received from Elkton reflects that the residents of those 2 facilities have average incomes of less than $20,000 and thus fall within the LMI limits for Maryland, using the current best figures for 2017. Under the circumstances of this request, staff recommends that the Elkton project be qualified as requested. With regard to Ingerman, the same income requirements are used. They're multi-state. And they vary with family size. So Ingerman uses a projected period for the county in a multi-state area, as previously discussed. It's not comparable to an actual period in a single state. At 60% of the AMI threshold, Ingerman's tenants I should say that Ingerman has said that they have limited their leaseholds to tenants who would fall below at 60% of the AMI threshold. And that would place Ingerman's tenants below 80% of the Maryland median income for the most recent period available. So under the circumstances of this request, staff recommends Ingerman be qualified as requested. So in short, staff is recommending that both these be qualified as low-income housing.
Thank you, Mr. Garofalo. Counsel for the People's Council.
Thank you, Mr. Excuse me. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Jacob Auslander on behalf of the Maryland Office of People's Counsel. OPC supports the applications submitted by Elkton Housing Authority and Ingerman with one important qualification, and this is consistent with comments that we had made when this issue came up during the rulemaking proceeding. We believe that the Commission should condition the granting of this application on the agreement by both Elkton and Ingerman to ensure that the credits will flow through to the tenants and to also provide information and documentation to confirm that upon request. Yesterday afternoon, I reached out to the executive director of the Elkton Housing Authority, Ms. Cynthia Osborne, and she agreed with those conditions. She said that she didn't have any objections. I also reached out to the chief operating officer of Ingerman and left a voicemail message, but did not hear back from him.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Auslander. Do we have counsel for either Elkton or Ingerman here? Are you counsel for either?
No.
Do you have an interest?
The developer whose project this is.
Project is whose?
Chester Woods Point Solar LLC.
Oh, okay. All right. And what is your name for the record?
Greg Warner from Mexico.
Thank you, Mr. Werner. All right, Mr. Auslander, so you received commitment from Elkton, but you've not heard back from Ingerman.
That's right. I would say I've received that they don't have any objection to those conditions from Elkton. I did not hear back from Ingerman.
The certification that they're going to pass the value along, because in your footnote, you raised the concern that, well, they may pass the $10 credit along to the tenants each month, but they may raise the rent by $50 a month. How will we be able to ever figure that out?
Well, I suppose that if we are able to look at the documentation, we will see whether or not these housing complexes are, honoring the spirit of, this exception to the rule that an individual subscriber must, qualify as LMI. I think that by issuing a letter order, for example, that conditions the qualification of the housing complex as an LMI subscriber, the danger that a housing complex that did not honor the commitments that were contained in that letter order would be that they might be declassified as an LMI subscriber. But I do understand your point that it could in practice be difficult years down the line to determine whether or not the increase in rents were in any way tied to the community solar credits that are flowing to the bill. Although I will say, in the context of federally subsidized housing, in many cases there's a formula that is used to determine how much a tenant is required to pay, and it is not subject to market forces like other types of apartment residential leases.
Right. I suspect Section 8 housing has a lot of strings attached to it when the owner of that property agrees to take the subsidies. I don't know exactly how it works, but I do know it's not fair market rates. Well, your proposal, the conditions, I'm glad that you received commitments from Elkton. I would envision it very hard for this commission to be able to police and disentangle any additional charges or rental increases from the community solar credits. You said this adequate documentation should be provided upon request. Upon request by whom? By you?
Well, I was envisioning both staff and OPC, and this is not only tied just to the rationale that I've sort of articulated in this set of comments, but also to the fact that a report will be filed with the General Assembly on the outcome of the pilot program, and so I think we would want to make sure that we are going to be able to have access to information, including subscribers that fall into this situation where an apartment complex is the LMI subscriber, and in order to convey to the General Assembly whether or not tenants in low and moderate income families are actually benefiting from the benefiting financially from participation in the program, I think it would be important to have access to that information.
Thank you. Other commissioners? Commissioner Herman.
I was just on your point. I'm sorry. Did you recognize
Commissioner
me?
Richards.
Okay, you said Herman, and then you looked at me. So, just on your point, because I think you do raise an important issue here, and it's something that was discussed in the rulemaking, and I think you're correct that the legislature intended to include low-income and moderate-income households. But we didn't include anything in the rule, so would we be adding something kind of late in the game here that could be burdensome to these developers? Is that something? I see a shaking head out there, but I would be concerned that we are, maybe changing the rules late in the game. Do you have a thought on that?
Well, I wouldn't. I would say that it's implied in the rules as they're written now that if a LMI subscription, if credits are flowing, under an LMI subscription, then that they must benefit an LMI customer. I think that the exception that was written into the rules allowing low-income housing operators to qualify as LMI was not to create a carve-out and allow more participation by commercial and industrial customers. I think that the carve-out was to recognize that many low and moderate income families might be living in a situation where they have a master meter building and they can't actually participate in this program unless we had, an exception like this.
Right, and I think we definitely wanted to make the rules open enough so we could encourage and incentivize entities to come in and to participate and specifically target, opportunities to the low and moderate income. The other question I had, you brought up the report. All the participants at this point are in a pilot, and I think they all understand that they signed up for being a part of this report. Do you feel that, and as I recall, there were a lot of items on that report that needed to be completed, need to be answered for the legislature. So do you feel right now you won't be able to get the data that you're seeking? Because I think we do want specific data on the participation of low and moderate income. And that may be another issue. I don't know if it's necessarily for today, but definitely when we're looking at the report, ensuring that we do get the necessary data, I think is very important.
Well, I don't envision that there will be a difficulty getting the information from the solar facility operators, for example. I think when it comes to situations like this where the subscriber is probably not even aware that that this report will be filed. I think it might be useful to inform them that some additional information might be necessary, which is why I reached out to Elkton Housing Authority and Ingerman. And I did not speak to Ingerman, but Elkton Housing Authority had no objection whatsoever to providing this information.
Okay, good, and I hope that would be all the entities participating in this program would provide the data that they signed up for when they opted to participate in this pilot. So anyway, thank you for those answers.
Sure.
Mr. Oslander, I have similar questions, but I just, how do we police these kinds of provisions here to certify? What kind of certification are you talking about? Do they have to get it notarized? Do they just swear to it? They send a letter? What does that mean, in your view?
I suppose that they could send a letter. I also,
well, it's your proposal. What do
right,
you envision?
I suppose that if the letter order itself could just conditioned the the granting of their application on the condition that they pass along the rate credits and provide documentation showing that upon request of either staff or OPC, then the way it would be policed is if staff and OPC saw the information and we did not believe that the credits were actually flowing through, we could bring it to the Commission's attention, and then I guess the theory would be that they are not adhering to the conditions of the letter order.
Okay, and you asked for adequate documentation. What's adequate mean to you?
I think that it would. I don't exactly know how they plan to flow the credits through. If they plan to just divide, what I was envisioning was they would, if they get a $400 credit in a given month, they would divide that by the number of households, and they would flow the benefit to the households as a reduction in rent. I suppose there are other ways that they could do it. Perhaps they flow it through as pro rata, like as a function of how much rent the household is paying. So I think OPC is open to the housing authority or Ingerman choosing a method to flow the credits through, and then after OPC and staff can take a look at it, we will decide whether that they are acting consistent with this obligation to flow the credits through.
Mm-hmm. Well, and you believe that the statute requires that the credits be passed through?
If the credits are being if they're being classified as a lower moderate income subscription credit, I believe that they are required, because these projects are granted capacity, especially particularly because they're serving LMI customers. So to the extent that they're not actually serving LMI customers, meaning the benefits flowing through to them, then they're essentially not an LMI subscriber.
Uh-huh. And did you propose these? I don't believe I was on the commission when these rules were approved. Did you propose these certifications and documentation requirements during the rulemaking?
We did. We suggested some changes to the.
And so they weren't adopted.
They were not adopted.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, it would be my view to grant the request without these provisions, because I just find they would be very difficult to police, and it would be very difficult for us to know whether or not be able. And the commission already didn't adopt these proposals, so that would be my view.
Thank you, Commissioner Herman. I concur with your position. Any other commissioner wishing to speak to OPC's request? Okay. I take that as OPC's requests are hereby denied. Additional questions on the two items of staff counsel? Is there a motion?
I was just going to say before that, I think, yeah, it was appropriate to deny the, the suggestion, but I did want to reemphasize this is a very important issue, and we need to figure out how we're making effectively the low income and the and moderate income provisions work. So I do hope it will be an important part of the report that comes out, and then we can either make changes to the rules or go back to the legislature and figure out what kind of requirements we can put at that time. But anyway, I do concur with the other commissioners.
Is there a motion on items number 19 and 20?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. For item number 19, I move that we grant Elkton Housing Authority's request to be qualified as a low-income subscriber for purposes of the Community Solar Pilot Program as follows: 150 Main Street location in the amount of 187 kilowatts, and Bridge Street location in the amount of 166 kilowatts. And for item number 20, I move we grant Ingerman's request to be qualified as a low-income subscriber for purposes of the Community Solar Pilot Program as follows: Elkton Senior Apartments, 145 High Street location in the amount of 80 kilowatts, and New East Crossing, 1000 Maresca Circle location in the amount of 37 kilowatts.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
The two motions are approved.
The last item on the agenda is item 21, Baltimore Gas and Electric Company, filed on April 19, 2019, request for a mandatory waiver of CPCN requirement to modify an existing overhead transmission line in Baltimore County.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. James Greger on behalf of staff. This item concerns a request from Baltimore Gas and Electric Company for a Certificate of Public Convenience and Necessity waiver pursuant to Public Utilities Article Section 7-207B4. PUA Section 7-207 requires an electric company to obtain a CPCN prior to commencing construction of an overhead transmission line that is designed to carry a voltage in excess of 69,000 volts. However, exceptions are outlined within the article. PUA Section 7-207B4I further states that the Commission shall waive the CPCN requirement should it find that construction 1 does not require the company to obtain new property or rights of way through eminent domain, or 2, require larger or higher structures to accommodate increased voltage or larger conductors. On April 19, 2019, BGE filed a request to the Commission for a waiver from the requirement to obtain a CPCN. The request involves portions of the 115 kV overhead transmission lines located in Baltimore County, Maryland. The specific work, as outlined in the company's filing, includes the termination of 2 existing circuits of BGE's Northeast substation located in Baltimore County, and reconfiguration in 2 circuits from Northeast substation to Windy Edge substation, and 2 circuits from Northeast substation to the CP Crane electric generation facility site. This project is directed by PJM under PJM's Regional Transmission Expansion Plan. This project is necessary to address a projected thermal overload condition as determined by PJM on a 115 kV transmission circuit for a breaker failure condition. Correcting this projected overload condition will allow the company to maintain compliance with North America Electric Reliability Corporation and PJM reliability planning criteria, and prevents the potential overload condition from becoming a real-time operating concern. The company has initiated community outreach and notification in Baltimore County, where the project is to take place. The project site is sparsely populated area of Baltimore County, and construction is to take place entirely on BGE-owned land. The company does not anticipate any customer interruptions associated with this project. BGE has notified neighboring landowners via letter, and additional outreach will take place in mid to late June, prior to commencement of construction. The company has informed Baltimore County government officials about the project and will continue to update county government and other stakeholders on the progress of the project. In its filing, the company asserts that this project will not require BGE to obtain new real property or rights of way, and does not require larger or higher structures to accommodate increased voltage or larger conductors. Based on staff's review of the filing and discovery responses from BGE, staff concludes that the completion of this project is necessary to maintain the reliability of the transmission system as directed by PJM, and that the statutory requirements under PUA Section 7-207B4I for obtaining a waiver of the CPCN requirement have been satisfied. Staff recommends that the Commission grant the waiver of the CPCN requirement pursuant to PUA Section 7-207B4I, applicable for the work described in the company filing. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Greger. Does Counsel for Baltimore Gas Electric have anything additional to add?
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Daniel Herson for Baltimore Gas and Electric. I have with me today David Outen, who's our Senior Engineer in Transmission Engineering and Design, and Al Alford, who's our Manager of Project Management. I want to thank staff for their thorough analysis on our filing for this project. I realize there's a lot of work that's discussed in this filing. It's a little hard to follow. We tried to spell it out as simply as we could, but sometimes the picture helps better, so we attached the before and after photos at the end. The good news is that most of this work is happening within the 4 walls of the substation, and the limited work that's outside of the 4 walls is on BGE-owned property right outside the walls of the substation. I don't have anything additional to add except 2 items. One, which I failed to point out in the letter, we did meet with the county executive in late April, briefed him on the project. He had no objection to it. I also shared the filing with the Power Plant Research Program. When we filed it, I sent it to Mr. Towson, their counsel. He got back to me the following week saying they had reviewed the filing and had no comment. So just wanted to point that out. We're here for questions.
Thank you. Do commissioners have questions? Seeing no questions, is there a motion?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I move we grant the requested waiver of the CPCN requirement as set forth in Section 7-207B4I of the Public Utilities article, applicable for the work described in the company's filing.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
The motion is approved.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And seeing no additional business before this commission, this meeting is adjourned.